So I'm out here in the garden today and I have decided to go ahead and work on picking my winter squash. You can see some of them hanging from my wonderful squash trellis that I made this year. It turned out so cool. I was really pleased with the way it turned out. And the squash all the way up until a week and a half ago were looking amazing, green, vibrant, beautiful. And then they got hit super hard with squash vine borers. And unfortunately, I didn't realize it until they already were, the vines were so badly damaged. But next year, I'm going to try to be prepared. I'm going to get some of the BT. I've seen lots of people talking about how to inject the BT to kill the squash vine borers when you find them. Let me know if you've dealt with squash vine borers and found an effective way to get rid of them or kill them once they start. If you've tried the BT, let me know, because I think I'm going to try it next year, because they just decimated the whole entire tunnel. So we're going to start picking. The vines are half dead, mostly dead. Here we go. But I'm going to show you first, before I start picking, what the squash vine borer damage looks like. And this is kind of old, so it won't look quite like fresh, but you'll still get an idea for what it looks like. So you can see they get in the vine here and they burrow into it, and then you can't really see it because this is old, but they make like a, you'll see what kind of looks like sawdust by the hole, and that's the dead giveaway that it is vine borers. I do still have some vines that are looking, you know, alive. A few of them are halfway decent, but man, they just got hit super hard. They looked so good before this, but yeah, you can see they're just, it's time. They're looking bad. And you can see this is what the tunnel looked like just a couple of weeks before the big harvest day that I did. It still was nice and green and lush and beautiful. It did have a few leaves on the edges starting to die. It was starting to look a little bit rough, but I mean, it's been super hot here. So this is probably actually when the borer damage started, and I just didn't realize that's what it was because of some of the stuff starting to die and it was starting to look a little rough, but it was still lush and beautiful. And all these, it still had lots of blooms coming on. It had all the young fruit, so they probably would have made tons more if the vine borers wouldn't have gotten to them, because they constantly had more little baby fruit coming up. They had new blooms all the time. So next year I am definitely going to try to get on top of the borers and see if I can beat them. I'm also going to plant a little bit earlier because I was kind of late getting my stuff planted to begin with. And you can see that the fruit just hung down. It didn't need any extra support. I didn't have any problems with it breaking off. So what I have growing here, I have the candy roasters, that's kind of what they look like. I have quite a whole bunch of those. There's a ginormous one way up on top there. I have a whole bunch of candy roasters, and a lot of them that are not quite ripe. I'm hoping they'll continue to ripen, but I don't have very high hopes with the vines dying. I do have some butternuts. Be picking those as well. And then down way on the end, let me see, we'll walk down here. This is all the candy roasters. And then down here, I have these huge long ones, are zucchini rampicante. I loved the zucchini rampicante. It's been my favorite. I picked a whole bunch of them. Not a whole bunch. I've probably picked 5 or 6 of them. When they're at this stage and green, you can pick them as summer squash and eat them just like you would a zucchini. And then you can tell this one, you might be able to tell the color. It's starting to darken, like these down here have darkened almost to like a butternut squash color, and that is mature, and you can keep those as a winter squash. So it's super versatile. I love that you can pick it as a summer squash and eat it, but then say you get tired of eating summer squash, just leave them to develop into winter squash. And there's another one over there. They get really long, and then so the whole long part of it there does not have seeds, and all the seeds are down in the little bulb that it makes on the end. So your seeds will be down there, and then this whole long neck does not have seeds, and it's similar to like a butternut squash. Super, super cool. It's definitely one of my favorite new additions to the garden this year is the zucchini rampicante. It's also called tromboncino squash. And as a summer squash, it has a really, really good flavor, and it, like I said, it doesn't have those seeds all through it, and also it's not as watery. It's more of a firm texture. I do wish I could pick this fast in real life because, man, it was so hot out there. It was about 100 degrees mid-August in Louisiana. It was really hot. And now for the one that I've been waiting for. This thing is ginormous. I'm gonna have to cut it from the inside and let it down the side of the trellis. So we'll see how that goes. This thing is so huge. I don't know why it got so monstrous, but it did. So this was my total picking for this harvest day. I was really, really pleased with this amount. It's being my first time ever growing winter squash ever. Super pleased with it. The fruit is really beautiful and gorgeous. So very happy with it. We got the butternuts there, candy roasters. I did leave these smaller ones on the vine hoping that they would go ahead and ripen up. About half of them they did, and about half of them the vines died too soon before they were able to ripen, which was sad. And this is what the rest of the garden looks like currently. It's a weed patch, so there are some bell peppers in there. There's some pink red river cowpeas on the other side of the bell peppers. But it's just all grown up in a weed patch. But we still grew a whole bunch of food, even though the garden on a whole was a failure because of time constraints and other things. I wanted to weigh them just to kind of have a benchmark of how much we grew this year and how much we might want next year. We ended up with a total of 220 pounds of candy roaster squash, about 45 pounds of butternut squash, and then just a few of the zucchino rampicantes. We didn't get as many of those because we ate them as summer squash.
That's the final one. That is
20 pounds by itself. 20 pounds.
Yeah, gigantic one.
Back over here. So she doesn't drop it right there. It's already got us.
Is that too heavy for me?
20 pounds.
Can I feel it? That's not too heavy.
Okay. Alright, now let's do all these little butternuts.
Can I try to hold it?
Here, hand these to Daddy. You're nasty.
One by one, we're working together. One by one, we make a scale. One by one, we're putting them in. One by one, we're working together. One by one, every day. One by one. One.
It's gotta be those. You wanna see how many that is?
That's almost to 25.
Exactly 25.
Pounds.
After 25?
Exactly 25.
So this is the final harvest for this day, and I am super pleased with what we got. And then these are some of the ones that I went back and picked that ripened up. So even though our garden as a whole was kind of a pretty epic failure, this year actually was, I think, probably the worst garden that I've had since we got married. The most weedy, unproductive, but yet, even that, on the squash trellis, I grew probably, I mean, it was like 220 pounds from what we weighed, and then I picked more after that. It was probably at least 260 or 280 pounds of food that we will now have to eat on for at least the next 4 or 5 months, depending on how long those squash keep. So I would highly, highly recommend growing some winter squash on a tunnel. It worked fabulously, and weeds didn't really matter. It was easier to keep them away from there because they were growing up. But yeah, so highly recommend it. And it's one of those really low input crops. Now I will say, you do have to go out every day or every couple of days and catch the new tendrils that are coming off and train them going up where you want them to go, because it does not take long at all, and they are just totally out of hand. Especially the candy roasters, the zucchini rampicante, they grow like crazy. It's really unbelievable how fast they grow. The butternut, not so much. They are a little bit slower. So you do have to do that on a regular basis, or else they won't go up the trellis. They'll just go everywhere. But on the whole, the squash trellis and winter squash was a huge success, and it's definitely something I'll be growing next year. And hopefully I'm gonna add on to it and grow even more next year. And I will, in the spring, have a video with more details about how to do the squash tunnel. I had intentions of doing it this year, but then it just didn't work out timing-wise. I had to get them in the ground. So hopefully this spring, that's the plan. I'm gonna have a more detailed video showing how to build it and how we planted them and everything else. So stay tuned for that. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you will give a squash tunnel a try. It was just one of the most fabulous things this year. And if you don't mind, I really appreciate it if you hit the like button, subscribe, comment. Those kind of things are super, super helpful as a YouTube channel for the algorithm. It doesn't take any time, but it's really, really helpful, and I appreciate it. So thank you for joining. I'm super appreciative and glad you're here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.